Congressional investigators have been informed that the CDC director, Robert Redfield, had instructed staff to delete an email that was sent by a Trump political appointee seeking to manipulate the CDC's coronavirus data. So the senior member of the agency who spoke to this subcommittee within the House essentially argued that the data that was being targeted was specifically aimed at watering down the CDC's morbidity and mortality weekly report to match the, I guess, lower numbers that were being spread by Donald Trump's disinformation campaign in regard to this pandemic. And so just to give you context on what this email was about, it was sent by Paul Alexander, who was the scientific advisor to Health and Human Services spokesperson Michael Caputo. Needless to say, both of them are out of government right now. Michael Caputo had a mental breakdown, so he and Alexander are no longer with the Department of Health and Human Services. However, this is what we know from the email. In Alexander's August 8th email, he insisted on an immediate stop to all CDC MMWR reports due to the incompleteness of reporting. Nothing to go out unless I read and agree with the findings, how the CDC wrote it, and I tweak it to ensure it is fair and balanced and complete, Alexander added, in a breach of scientific firewall that CDC has maintained for decades. So Alexander also attempted to prevent Dr. Anthony Fauci from ever speaking about the potential ramifications of this pandemic on children's health. Then the woman who was essentially in charge of editing and putting out this data ended up getting questioned by this House panel. Her name is Charlotte Kent, and again, senior official with the CDC. She basically said that while she was out on vacation, someone who was filling in for her was notified by Redfield to delete that email. I was instructed to delete the email, she told the House. Kent was again on vacation when this happened. So when she came back and looked for the email in question, something interesting happened. She says, I went to look for it after I had been told to delete it and it was already gone. Kent also told investigators that the CDC, in an earlier incident, delayed the publication of a July report on coronavirus spread at a Georgia summer camp following a requested delay by Dr. Redfield and HHS. The report was held for 2 days and instead released about 15 minutes after Redfield conducted testimony to Clyburn's panel. And the panel that was investigating this is led by Representative Clyburn, who released a statement in regard to this testimony saying federal employees have affirmative obligations to preserve documents and destruction of federal records is potentially illegal. And then he also warned in the letter that federal law also provides for up to 3 years of imprisonment for willful destruction of federal records. And so he claims that he has asked for documents from the CDC back in September 14th specifically, and they have not responded to his requests. He's threatening to subpoena officials and documents if they don't respond soon.
All right, I want to be clear about a couple of things here about who the good guys and bad guys are. So this one is a little bit complicated. So the head of the CDC is Redfield, and Redfield is, in my opinion, a little bit fundamentalist in his religious beliefs, and that has affected some of his actions early on. But now here comes a huge but. He actually turned around and his doctor side and scientific side seems to have won out in the middle of this pandemic, as he probably saw the endless deaths and it affected him. And even though he started out as very much a Trump guy, by the end he was defying Trump and saying, no, we must do science. And so this Paul Alexander email that got deleted, that's very clear. That was political interference saying, don't do science. We don't care how many people die. We just care about our dear leader, Donald Trump, and how he looks. I mean, filled with like big bold letters and highlighted in yellow and blue and red. I mean, just like the ravings of lunatics as always, right? So when Redfield says delete the email, it's possible he's saying it to cover up for the Trump administration because they're being asked to do something potentially illegal. But I think it's more likely that Redfield's saying, delete that crap and don't listen to Paul Alexander, that moron that doesn't know a single thing about science. So, Redfield might have technically violated the law in deleting the email, but I think context and intent matters here. And I'm not positive about the intent, but based on all the context that I have read about Redfield, I would say by the end, he was one of the good guys and he was trying to get rid of an email by one of the worst guys.
Yeah, I would get rid of Redfield, to be honest with you, because you should never, ever allow the CDC to be politicized in any way. So why did he delay that report that Kent was testifying about, the report that he delayed for 2 days after the White House demanded that he do that? Why? Why did he do that? It's supposed to be an independent body that's not politicized. That's not politicized at all. We have a record number of people dying on a daily basis now. Record number of Americans died in one day yesterday. We don't even know what the total numbers are gonna be today. Okay, we don't have time to mess around with anyone who's even entertaining bending to the will of a lunatic like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Especially the director of the CDC.
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's even a hard question at all. So if I was Joe Biden, I would immediately replace everyone in healthcare with folks who only care about healthcare and not politics and not religion or not, Greek myths or Norse myths. I don't care. If you want to on your own time, it's a free country. Bless your hearts, okay? But this job is for a doctor and a scientist. So now, I'm just saying, I don't think Redfield was one of the worst at all. I'm not saying that I wouldn't replace him. I'd replace people that were chosen based on politics with people who are chosen based on expertise. And I wouldn't want Biden doing what Trump did in not even 1%, of course, and saying, oh, that's okay. I found a really good Democratic operative to put at the CDC. Hell no, I wouldn't want that. No, what I want is a doctor, a scientist. We've got over 3,000 people dying every single day. You're right, Anna. We can't go 1%, let alone 25 or 50% of the way towards appeasing people like Donald Trump and politicians. Just do the goddamn science.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.